at St. Matthew's Cathedral right now. They're going to head to the Capitol, arrive at the Capitol around 11 o'clock, and of course the inaugural ceremony, he will be sworn in shortly before noon, and of course become president at noon today. One of the rituals we have not yet talked about that was followed this morning. It's an essential one. I want to bring in our Chief Global Affairs anchor, Martha Raddatz, for more on this. I will never forget the look on Bill Clinton's face in Blair House the morning of his inauguration in 1992 after President Bush's National Security Advisor Brent Scowcroft left and giving him the briefing on the nuclear codes. Joe Biden at this point has gotten that briefing. He's going to be accompanied by a military aide, something very different this year. Normally the presidents are together, so you only need one satchel. Today there are two.
There are two because Joe Biden will not get that so-called nuclear football, that suitcase where he can put in the codes for a nuclear attack until he becomes president. So Donald Trump has that right now on the way to Florida because he is still the president, still commander-in-chief. Of course, you remember, George, after January 6th, Nancy Pelosi put in a call to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, worried about Donald Trump carrying that nuclear football, having those codes. He assured her that there would not be any sort of accidental launch. Those codes, they're called the biscuit, and the president usually carries that, is supposed to carry that code on his person. 1981, after Ronald Reagan was shot and in the hospital, there was a brief moment of panic because they couldn't find the codes. It's supposed to be on his person. Of course, he went into surgery. They later found it in his shoe. So Donald Trump surely has those codes on him now, but when the second satchel is passed to Joe Biden, I can imagine that is a very sobering moment. I have also heard from a lot of people about those procedures that are now in place. They think they are strong procedures, but it really is up to the president to decide. There is that procedure. What happens, you bring in the Joint Chiefs, you bring in the Joint Staff to talk about it. It's only supposed to happen if the United States is under attack. But I think there are many people, particularly after the Trump presidency, who want to take a second look and see if you can put stronger procedures in place.
That has been one of the defining debates of the nuclear age, Martha, no question about that. In the end, the president does have sole control, even though those safeguards are in place. I want to bring in presidential historian Mark Updegrove as well. All the presidents who've had to deal with this responsibility talk about how sobering it is.
That's exactly right, George. It is sobering. That is the most sobering responsibility a president has. The reason it's called the football is because it's handed off from one military officer to another. And of course, today it won't be handed off from one president to another because they're not going to be in the same place. There are two different systems. So President Trump's will run out at noon when constitutionally Joe Biden becomes president, and then there will be another system, another satchel containing those codes here in Washington for Joe Biden to begin his tenure as our nation's commander-in-chief.
And as Martha said, he will not be given that biscuit with the actual codes until noon when he does become president of the United States. You have to take another quick break. We'll be right back.